Welcome back to Factory Sealed. It is April 24th, 2016. My name's Eric Peterson, and I am joined today by the one and only Yam Reagan.
Yo, where's Jess? Where's Dan? I'm not happy about this.
It's just us.
This is shit.
Just you and me.
Let's pull the plug now. It's not going to go well.
All right, we'll see y'all next week.
Just see us at factory_sealed on Twitter, or as facebook.com/factory sealed, and factorysealed@manatag.com for the emails. Cheers,
and
guys!
That's episode 96. We'll see you back in 4 weeks for episode 100.
We've got Ocarina of Time to get through.
Oh my god, we do.
I'm gonna need
by the
all
way,
time.
spoiler.
Yeah.
I don't think we formally announced that yet.
Spoiler for what?
Episode 100.
Okay, see, I'm a bit wary of you with your spoilers.
Well, you just spoiled it.
I did not spoil anything.
You did too.
Oh, Jesus. Maybe I did.
I mean, maybe people weren't listening, but now that we've drawn attention to it, they're going to rewind it. Wait a minute, what did he spoil? And then they're going to listen to it and go, oh my god, I'm done with the episode, and then turn it off.
If you'd have just written it out, it just would have glazed over. But no, just like our segues, it is highlighted once again.
Yeah, I mean, we're just completely incapable of letting something go.
Just a joke. Why did I sign up for this?
You didn't sign up. We dragged you kicking and screaming.
Oh.
Get over here. We need another Brit. Sit down. Here's your microphone. Talk into it. Act happy.
Come on, Jess doesn't turn up.
Where is Jess?
She's still in America land.
She's in a car at the moment.
Yeah. But I didn't even know she'd ventured across the border. Is that true?
Everybody adventures to America.
Yeah, I guess. Why wouldn't you go over there?
Even I adventure to America. And I live here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people up in Detroit drive across to Canada, I think.
Well, that's Detroit, and everybody wants to get out of Detroit.
Oh, sorry to everybody listening from Detroit.
Do we have any listeners from Detroit?
You never know. I think the audience is largely American, right?
Oh, no, we've got a nice wide breadth.
Oh, yeah, actually we do. We got a lot of people from, like, Australia and stuff.
I'd be curious to know if there... I mean, we've got somebody from Japan/China.
Oh, yeah.
We've got Finland, got England, Canada, Australia, definitely America.
Yeah.
A couple South America. I don't know if we have anyone from Africa.
Maybe in South Africa, maybe.
If you are from South Africa, or just Africa in general, we want to send you something.
Yeah. It would be cool to find out. I always think it would be interesting to find out how people discover us.
We did that a long time ago, and that was actually really, really cool to have people write in emails like, hey, how you came across us. There's one guy who wrote in from Alaska, and he worked on like some sort of apple orchard up there and was just sitting under a tree one day or something and looking through podcasts and found us.
Hey, it can happen. We're in there. And it was somewhere buried in the directory of toilet.
Stuff that probably doesn't suck. This potentially is toilet.
Yeah. Disclaimer.
Infect your ears with this swill.
Yes. Dominate your lug holes with this absolute disgusting
Your
putrid...
what?
your lug holes.
What the hell is a lug hole?
Your ear hole.
Okay, I got the whole part of it. Like 50% of that word I understood, but lug? Like lug means to carry.
So lug is slang for ears. Like your lugs. And
where?
So your log hole
like, where is
yeah.
that slang?
London. It's Cockney rhyming slang.
I suppose. Okay. I mean, Cockney just makes no sense at all anyway.
It's a little bit popular as well in the north of England, I believe. So yeah, I should have probably cleared that for you.
Lug holes.
You learn something new.
When you have your lugs pierced, are they called lug rings?
I've never heard the term go beyond just the default ears. But you could append other things to that word. Yeah, why not? Lug rings, lug tunnels, lug flesh tunnels. Lug hole tunnels.
Love.
Lug drums. And see, this is why we belong in the category of
your lug lobes.
Your lug horns.
That's what you put your shoes on with. Oh wait, that's a shoe horn.
Oh, a shoe horn.
Where did I get lug horns?
From somewhere deep in the depths of your brain.
I'm gonna lick your lug lobes.
Aww.
That's some good consonants there.
Really digging deep now.
Back to the old English teacher days.
Oh yeah.
Kids, we're gonna learn a brand new word today. It's called lug.
What's it mean, sir?
It means ears. Now, make as many dumb combinations as you can.
Why not just use ears, sir?
Because that's dumb.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Boy, Mr. Peterson, you sure know a lot of words for a lot of different things.
Shut up.
Yes, Mrs. Peterson, sir.
I want none of your lip.
Don't put me in detention again, sir.
What kind of kids did you think I taught?
I don't know. I'm just coming up with the most stereotypical...
innocent sounding
accent.
That's the voice I taught with, too. That was my teacher voice.
Shut up.
Shut up, kids. It's like Rex from Rex Kwando.
Oh, yeah.
You want rhinos kicked in the face while wearing these bad boys? Go home to Starla.
I friggin' love Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh my god, it's so good.
That scene is amazing. If you look in the background, Napoleon actually laughs like a bit of a goof in the film. He just can't contain it, and they were like, we have to keep that shot in because Rex Kwando didn't do it any better.
That's so funny.
Or they just missed it entirely. So, so yeah, Jess is in America then. We don't know which part.
I think she's in a car. I mean, Americans spend a lot of time in the car as it is.
Oh, God, yeah, tell me about it, Jesus.
But she's on her way home.
Well, what I found really interesting is when you're looking around in America, not many people walking.
Oh, no. And if you're walking, everybody in a car's like, why are you walking?
Yeah, I know.
Do you not own a car? Like maybe a bicycle?
I definitely understand it where you are because it's so sprawling and large and hot.
Yes.
But in other parts of it, like in California, I was like, where is everyone?
Well, if you're on the street, you're going to get shot.
Well,
no, I need to pull that back. No, you won't. I don't want to make broad assumptions about the American people as a whole.
You shouldn't, because when I was in San Francisco, I felt it was really cool. Actually, like there was a lot of people walking around, and it was really busy.
Depends on the area. I mean, if it's a dense urban area, then yeah, you're going to see a lot of people walking around. If it's the outlying cities or suburbs or things like that, you're not going to see a lot of people out walking around.
Yeah, it's
New York City, you're going to see a ton of people.
Yeah, definitely.
Seattle, you'll see a lot of people. I mean, even downtown Phoenix, you see a lot of people walking around.
Yeah, we didn't see many that day we went, but maybe that's because it wasn't maybe it was because it was smack bang in the middle of a working day, and so everyone's just in offices, right?
No, pretty much what you saw when we drove through downtown Phoenix is about as walky as it gets.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So it's got some activity.
Daniel is in blurry Australia.
And we say blurry because...
I don't know. Like, I've never been to Australia.
Yeah.
Have you?
No. No, I haven't.
Okay, so there's one of two possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
A, Australia is just blurry.
Yeah. Nothing high def about it.
Nothing at all. Like, really poor graphics. They haven't received Earth 2.0 graphics update.
Yeah, barely 480.
Oh, man. I think it's more like 240.
240i.
Ooh.
Ooh, I know.
Ooh. Interlaced. Ugh. Gives me the shivers. Or B, Dan's camera phone sucks.
Yeah, I'm going to put my life savings, which isn't great, and the apartment that I don't own on B.
I'm going to say it's B too. Now there are a few pictures that Dan's posted that haven't been blurry, and I'm only assuming that it was Crystal's phone that took those, or maybe they had an actual camera.
Yeah, or they got somebody else with steadier hands.
Dan's just so excited. He's like, Australia! Woohoo!
He's having such a great time, he can't keep it steady. Keep it steady, Dan. You need to show your friends and family back home your pictures, and if they're blurry as shite, no one's going to know what you really saw.
There's a picture of him sitting on a cliff. Did you see that one?
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out what his shirt says.
Oh, I didn't study it in that much detail, if I'm honest.
Like, it looks like it says Jock Buns. Like he's just really into athletic dude ass.
Jock Buns. If that's what you're saying, I've not even seen the photo. Maybe I'll guess it's something like Jack Jones, which is like a brand.
I think it's Jock Buns. I just sent you the picture.
Okay, let's have a look.
I mean, it's one of those classic examples of your shirt is bunched up and it eliminates one
You're
of the
right.
letters.
There is definitely a U there. Or is that a U?
I mean, there's an ampersand at the beginning that looks like a B. And I'm just going to...
It's Jack and Jones.
Where are all of the vowels?
It's kind of cool to take the vowels out. You know, do you guys have that thing over there?
No.
Like, it's cool to take the vowels out of out of brands and stuff. You know, like,
no.
I don't know.
Nope.
Say a brand ends in ER and you minus the E and it just has an R.
That's just poor spelling.
Okay, ask your friends in San Francisco. That is a thing.
Oh. Marketing people around the world are cringing.
If I worked in marketing in Arizona, I would show them so many cool things that they would just, their minds would be blown.
I mean, you could substitute any of the vowels and it just wouldn't make sense.
No, that's the point. If you substitute the vowels, it still reads. You can still read the word.
Jack and Jans. Like, it.
No! Well, okay, look, I kind of agree with you in some instances, but you got to come up with new brand names, so you kind of have to have something edgy. It makes for a good domain name.
Let's just come to an agreement that Dan is wearing a shirt that says Jock Buns.
Yeah, I can go with that.
Okay. I mean, he's not here to defend himself, so...
No. He'll listen back and know that I put the fight up, and then I quickly conceded. Sorry, Dan.
I'm going to make him a shirt that says Jock Buns.
Yes.
And it's going to have a nice, luscious dude butt on it.
This is for talking about my penis while I was in America land, and I couldn't defend myself. If you can't make it for the show, that's what happens. You just be prepared to be torn a new one.
Thank God my genitals are safe.
Yeah, you're always going to be here.
And
I wonder if there'll ever be a day when you're not here and there's a shit show between Dan, Jess, and I.
Oh, Jesus.
Just imagine.
I think it would have to be... I mean, there'd have to be, like, massively extenuating circumstances.
I could do it. Welcome back to Factory Seal. It is January 6th, 2016. My name is Tom Reagan, and I'm joined by the two biggest doofuses in video games.
When is January 6th?
I don't know. It was the first date that came into my mind.
No, but like, what is the sixth?
What do you mean?
Sixth?
Oh, you say...
Like,
Yeah,
there's an
sixth.
X in there that gets pronounced. Sixth. Not sixth.
No. Oh, Jesus.
Like,
not this again.
Sickth? Sixth?
There's a band called Sixth.
That's why... what's his name? The redheaded guy from Ed Sheeran. I could never understand
Yes.
what the hell he was saying in one of his verses. He was saying 6th Street, but he said 6th Street.
Yeah, it's Sixth. It's Sixth.
Spell it for me, Tom.
Sure.
I'm going to take you through an English lesson here, so spell it for me.
No. What, an
just-
American English lesson?
Just an English lesson. We both speak English.
We do, but you have created this new warped form of it.
Okay, humor me. Spell it.
That I don't completely disagree with. SIX, and then there's a TH sound at the end.
Now, what is the number that comes between 5 and 7?
That would be 6.
Okay, now, if somebody comes in the place between 5th and 7th...
Eric, fuck off. You're setting me up for failure. You're teeing it up. So that
I'm going to tee this sucker up real high, and I'm going to give you a real big club, and you're going to knock it home.
This is how you're such a good salesman, I imagine. All right, now, what do you need?
No,
this.
you don't need that. You need this. But this is what we really want. No.
You're like, what's the problem? I can't do this. Okay, how do we solve that problem? I need this. Introducing this. This will solve your problems.
You didn't even know you wanted this. That's pretty much how most of my meetings go.
Show. Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's sick. I mean, I get it. It's just old English. It's old English. It's traditional.
You slag.
It's like, you know, do you guys use the Oxford comma?
Oh, God, if you don't use an Oxford comma, I'm going to destroy you.
I do use an Oxford comma.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's a thing in American English.
No, Dan doesn't, and it drives me nuts.
Why?
I don't know.
Here's the thing. We are taught in schools to not do it. But then at university, we were taught to do it.
Yes, because it leaves too much room for interpretation otherwise.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of it.
While we're on the subject of grammar...
Oh, yeah.
There is... You have one grammatical nuance that I don't know if you're aware of when you type.
I think I do know of it. I'm going to guess.
What?
I think when I'm talking positively, I use I am or I'm, maybe. And then if I'm talking negatively, I'll be like I am or is not.
Oh, no, that's not it at all.
Okay.
You substitute the word of for have.
Yes. Because it is have.
It is have.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have done that.
I pointed that out to Dan a few years ago. He's like, "You changed my life," because he always used to type with of, like should of, instead of should have.
Right.
I mean, it's pronounced the way you pronounce it is should have, but that's with the apostrophe VE.
Mm-hmm.
But
so Dan always had of. Dan always used of?
Yes.
Okay.
But we're straying dangerously far away from video game podcast into petty grammatical podcast.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I might have started that with my whole sick thing. But how did you like my introduction as Eric Peterson?
It was good.
It was all right, right?
I'd feel comfortable turning the reins over to you.
Thank you. That's good to know, because I definitely could nail that intro. I mean, you've had a lot of practice, so you know.
I mean,
you're the host.
If I turned it over to Dan, it would just devolve into old man spewing shit internet robotic voices.
I just love it if the intro music came in and then it faded and it was like, "What? Shite! Oi, video!
You slag! What?
We talk about games.
Me Jock Buns.
I'm sorry, Dan. Except I'm not entirely
I really
sorry.
want Dan to change his Twitter handle to Jock Buns.
I should. If he does, I'll change mine to Jeeves.
Do you know anything about hacking?
Like, even if I did, can you imagine if you could successfully hack something like Twitter?
Well, you
My
just hack
days.
his account.
They would hire you instantly.
I mean,
Yeah.
we could just guess his password.
That's true. I reckon it's Shite Sonic 64.
I heart Sonic.
Sonic.
Sonic Speed.
Sonic isn't shite.
Mega Drive. What else would
Sonic
he have?
should have lived on.
Chavman 5.
Pity me till I die.
Well, he didn't grow up in Pity Me, so...
That's true. Where did he grow up?
Newcastle,
Factory
Durham
sealed up.
area?
Dan, email in at factorysealed@manatank.com. We want to know where he grew up.
I tried to get him to straddle as many things in Australia as possible, and I'm disappointed that he hasn't sent any yet.
Oh, yeah.
He sent a picture of him in front of the Opera House, and he wasn't straddling it. I think the problem there is that Crystal wouldn't take the picture of him doing it.
I think if he said, hey, take a picture of me straddling the Opera House, he might be met with a response of sort of, what?
Except in a more high-pitched female tone, like, what?
Yeah, like, what? I'm confused as to why you want to do this. Speaking of straddling, I need a straddling photo up. And we do have one now. So
you do? I can crop it so that it's just you in front of the ye old Grand Canyon.
Do it. I don't have that photo. Of all the photos I have, I don't have that one.
Because it was on my phone.
That would be why.
Yes, sir. Twould.
Files are easily shareable, but that is not one that is shared with yours truly.
I will share it with you, Thomas.
Thanks, dude.
Thomas, let's get an update from you on how your Demon Souls is progressing.
I love Demon Souls. I'm a true convert to this series.
Would you say that my devout love for that game over the past years has been overplayed, or is it genuinely worth it?
I'll say it's genuinely worth it, and the reason is I can't think of another PlayStation 3 game, especially, that has got me this hooked, where I'm actually really looking forward to playing it again and doing the next thing, even if it's just like farming and getting some new items or checking out a new world and seeing how I can get, how far I can get. And for all the things that are frustrating and challenging about it, I just keep coming back for more. Some kind of friggin' masochist.
See, and I think there's so many things that Demon Souls introduced to the gaming world that nobody has seen before. Here you have this game that drops you in quite literally with zero information.
Yes.
No, barely any storyline to speak of. The only story you get in that game is your opening cutscene, and that's it. You don't know where you're supposed to go. You don't know how to progress. Nobody gives you any tips. You don't have a quest log. They basically just say, here you go, figure it out. And at the same time, no game provides more sense of satisfaction for actually just figuring out what to do and then accomplishing it than Demon Souls does.
Yeah. It gives you the tools that you need, but it doesn't just explicitly tell you where those are, where those mechanics live, where, it's just dropping you in this kind of sandbox and saying, here you go, figure it out.
Now,
we're going to,
if we want to draw a correlation to a really old game that may have done something very similar to this, I'm immediately thinking of the original Legend of Zelda.
Link's Awakening?
No, the original, just Legend of Zelda for NES.
Yeah, of course.
Because they drop you into this world, you walk into a cave, and it's like, hey, it'll be dangerous to go alone, take this, and you get a sword, and then you walk out into this world going, well, fuck, what do I do?
Yeah.
And you can progress through it in any way you want. So I think there's a lot of... I'm not saying the two games are the same. It's just that same style of they drop you in and you're just left to your own devices to figure it out. I think too many games stray into that area of we want you to see all that we have taken the time to put into this game. Whereas the Souls games, they're okay with you missing a giant portion of that game. I mean, you can go through and miss all of the NPCs, all of the side quests, all of the optional bosses, all of the optional worlds that clearly took months of development time. And they're like, okay, whatever. If you don't get that, if you just don't get to there, then you don't get to there.
Yeah, I can't imagine how long it must have taken them. I mean, just this little things like I rescued Yurt, the Silent Chief, from one of the worlds, and then just the thought that he can, after you've beaten the next boss, he may rock up and start killing NPCs in what you would normally gather as the safest place in the whole game.
Yes.
It just starts to make that feel unsafe, and that you really need these NPCs, because if he starts to kill some important ones to you, then that makes your game even harder if it wasn't already challenging enough.
Now, I told you with that, I thought he would kill Stockpile Thomas, but I don't think he does. He'll kill everybody else, but I don't think he'll kill Stockpile.
God, that would be so unfair, but I wouldn't have put it past the game to do that.
But you're right, it injects this sense of
fear,
uncertainty, because in this world where everything, you don't want to stop for a second because you're not sure where something else is going to pop out from. Your safe haven is the Nexus, and now suddenly you've got this NPC in there who's killing people. And when I first played through this, I came back to the Nexus after saving him, and there were just 2 dead corpses. I'm like, who the hell are these? So I walked around and I looked at everybody. I'm like, okay, everybody's accounted for. Who are these people? So I thought maybe they were just bodies that appeared. So I left, progressed more, came back, one of the NPCs was dead. Like, what the hell is going on? So, mind you, I was playing this as it came out, and the wiki was still developing, and people were starting to get to that same point going, hey, what's going on? And somebody had posted a message like, I think one of the NPCs is killing other people in the Nexus. And people were sharing that same sentiment of like, holy crap, this is supposed to be the safe place in the world. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's awesome the way they've done that. I started to like run around the Nexus thinking, where is this guy? Now I don't feel like, I feel like I've got this new amount of fear injected into me for, in a place where you are totally safe, you can die as many times as you want and you're fine. And when I was fighting him in the Nexus, I was doing everything in my power to not die, because I just wasn't sure what would actually happen. Like, would he still be stood up there waiting for the second go? Or would he then get pissed off and start killing other NPCs? Like, I just didn't know.
He's a tough guy, too.
Yeah, he's not easy. He's probably the most, like, nimble enemy you fight for me at this time where I am in the game. Like, he actually kind of evades and dodges, and he's very quick. So, at the moment, I've defeated 4 bosses.
So you beat the purple slime guy.
The purple slime guy, the Tower Knight. The Tower Knight was really cool.
He's been my favorite Souls boss to date up until one from Dark Souls 3.
Wow. That's a lot of bosses to go through to keep him as number 1.
Well, just because of that scope of the game, you walk in and suddenly, boom, here's this enemy, and you'd never fought anything that big before. And the way that they made his entrance was so cool.
Yeah, and also just the fact that not only is he huge, but then there's like a million archers at the top, and you're like, how am I going to do this?
Yes.
How? Like, this is impossible. And I died almost straight away the first time, and then I looked at a guide, which is obviously something that you may have not been able to do at the time. I'm trying not to use guides too much to try and recreate that authenticity behind it, but at the same time, because it's my first Souls game, I'm kind of utilizing all the help I can get to kind of push me through. But I'm really enjoying it. So Tower Knight was the second one, and then the third one, I actually defeated the Fool's Idol, the lady that copies herself.
Yes.
In Latria. I struggled at first, but then I realized it was easier to swipe at her rather than stab. Like you could really take a ton of life off before she disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth, I defeated the armor spider.
That guy's a bitch.
Yeah, I did what you did and hid behind one of his legs while he caned me with fire. I did not have any flame resistance whatsoever in this battle.
Jesus.
So it was quite tough, but I defeated him second time because I read that if you appended the sticky white stuff to your sword, it would like do ton of damage. So now I'm up to the Flame Lurker, and that's my next boss, and he's a tough motherfucker.
Yes, he is, especially since they patched him.
Yeah, so I remember you telling me you could run around the back of like the rib cage, I think, that sat on the world in that environment.
He could get back there, but if you kite him to the front side of it, it's too skinny for him to get through. And then if he does get through, you just circle back around it. It's just using an environmental piece to your advantage.
Yeah, which is always a good idea in general. Like finding pillars and stuff, and like standing square with it, and like always trying to keep something between you and the enemy is always the way I've kind of played these bosses.
I think so many people are put off by this series because of how overblown the difficulty has become. People are like, oh, it's these other games compare themselves to Souls, like it's impossibly difficult, and it's like, well, I don't know if I really want that, but I think what people are forgetting to mention is the satisfaction of completion. Yeah,
and it's just a good game. Like, and I think Dark Souls 3. I'm not sure that I agree with the kind of marketing behind it, where they kind of just kept saying, prepare to die. Like that was how they were selling it. Was like
they've done that with all the Dark Souls games.
Yeah, I just feel like, market it for what it is. It's a really good game. Take away the difficulty, it's still a fantastic game for what it is. So, kind of leaning too much on the difficulty aspect is.
Well, there have been other games too that have been created. The most recent one that comes to mind is, I think it's called Enter the Gungeon.
Oh, yeah.
Where they bill themselves as like, this game's impossibly difficult. And they just make it hard for the sake of making it hard. The Souls games are fair.
Yeah, which we've said before, like if we've ever played stupidly difficult games on the show, that if it's so difficult that it just punishes you way too much, it's not fun. You give up. This is crap.
Well, I think of Super Mario Maker on the Wii U, and people make these impossible levels that require frame perfect timing. It's like, that's not fun.
Yeah, that's not fun because you're not really getting any sense of, well, for me, the cool thing about the Souls games is just, all right, okay, I fucked up on that time, but now I know what to do, or maybe I'll try it this way, or maybe I'll take my time. And sometimes it really is just that. It's just taking your time. It's not rushing things. It's
learning.
It's learning. That's exactly it. And that's why it's so satisfying, because we all like to feel like we're getting genuinely better at something, like whether you're bettering your character or your own, skills with a controller. It's the same kind of thing. It just really ticks all those boxes. Awesome game. It's probably the best PS3 game I've played, to be honest with you.
It's easily one of my favorite PS3 games as well.
Yeah.
I have not played through any of the other Souls games to the extent that I played through Demon Souls, but I think part of that is because at the time that Demon Souls came out, I didn't have the expendable income to purchase other games.
Yeah,
so I just continually played through the one I had.
Wow.
And because I liked it so much.
Yeah. No, so, I totally understand that. I can really see that.
I mean, I showed you a list of my characters that I had I think yesterday, and I had one at almost 100 hours, another one at almost 40, and then I did one for my playthrough at about 14 hours. So, and that's with other characters, because that game has locked game saves, so you technically can't transfer them between consoles. And I had one console crash, and I didn't have another PS3 that I could transfer. Like, they'll transfer directly across, but if you just try to plug in a USB stick, so I think I lost one of my bigger characters in there too.
Oh, jeez.
So
that would suck. It's kind of like you can accidentally kill a Stockpile Thomas.
Yeah.
And of course the game is always saving. That's all your shit gone. So
now, I will give you a hint. if you're quick enough, when you die, if you press your PlayStation button and immediately hit quit game, it won't register that death.
Oh.
So there is a little bit of a lag. So my uncle and I were playing this on the original PS3s that had the power switch on the back. So if we would die, we'd immediately flick the power. And then you'd spawn back forth before you died. It's a dangerous game to play because if you flick it off while it's saving, it could corrupt your file.
Shit.
So we had the console like right next to us and immediately flick it off.
Ooh, that's risky. With a game like this, where you have to dump a ton of hours into it, that's risky.
In hindsight, it was a terrible decision.
Yeah. But yeah, it kind of rewards those with patience, I feel, and that's what I have generally with games. Like I'm okay with farming grass for an hour to then before I go into a big battle. Mm-hmm. Like I won't get bored doing that because I'm like, this is okay, this is necessary, this will make things easier, this will give me the edge, and like before I would be like petrified of fighting like a blue knight, and now I have no problems with those guys. Like, yeah, bring them on.
Yeah, get over here,
like,
give me your grass.
Exactly how to do it. They always drop like the best grass, like, and I can now kill them in one stab.
Yep.
If I get the timing right, and so yeah.
So is your goal to see this thing through to the end?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Then you can lord it over Dan and say, "I beat this and you didn't."
Exactly. Yeah, Dan, I hope you're still listening after we gave you a shit about your Aussie picks.
Jock Buns!
Jock Buns. Yeah, so I will see it through. It'll probably take me a while because, we'll be playing various games for the show and other stuff will come out and whatever, but it's definitely at the forefront. It's not hitting the backlog anytime soon. I'm still jumping on that.
Good.
So.
Good.
It's Demon's Souls. You've been playing Dark Souls.
Yeah.
46
hours in less than 2 weeks.
Woo!
Yeah.
You God.
And I'm still not done.
Finished? Oh yeah, you're not, of course.
No.
Well, you're kind of done with the main bulk of it, right?
Oh yeah, I just have the optional boss and then the final boss, and that's it.
Sweet.
So
God, I've got all that to come one day.
We are here this week to talk to you about Star Fox.
Yeah. Which is actually, well, see, when you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago now, that we were going to be playing Star Fox, I was like, yeah, I know who Star Fox is, but I don't recall a game called Star Fox.
Well, because in Europe, isn't it called Star Vox?
No, it's Star Wing. And I remember it. I totally remember that cartridge because my brother borrowed a Super Nintendo from a friend with 2 games, Street Fighter 2 Turbo and another cartridge, and that was Star Wing. And I was like, yeah, I don't remember Star Fox. And also, Star Fox 64 over here was called Lilac Wars.
Yes, that's right. Because of the fact there's a company over there called Star Vox. That's what I was thinking of, right?
Really?
There's a company called Star Vox, and they were afraid that it would cause a delay in the release by calling the game Star Fox, because they'd be like, oh, well, this is copyright, or this is some sort of infringement. So they just changed it to Lilac Wars.
Oh, shit.
So
I didn't know that.
That's interesting. I understand that, changing the name of a game sometimes, like between Dark Cloud and Dark Chronicle, what the hell?
Yeah, I've still never really understood why they did that.
Dark Chronicle just sounds terrible.
Maybe they just tried to separate the game from the original, because was Chronicle much better in every way? Like, was it completely different characters, or?
Yeah, they don't tie together.
Yeah, so maybe that is why they kind of, rather than build it off the back of Dark Cloud, they thought, we'll start fresh. But
so it was called, the original one was called Dark Cloud in Europe?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Even though it's exactly the same style of game.
Yep. I've not played Dark Cloud, the original.
Just looking at these pictures, I hate to deviate from Star Fox, but Dark Cloud, the original, has such an important place in my gaming history, because it's when the PS2 first came out, and I was still in high school, and it was during the summer I was living with my dad, and he had just taught me how to like actually make popcorn on the stove from kernels and oil. And like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night would roll around, and I'd go and I'd make a huge pot of popcorn. And I had my dad had given me the whole basement. You know, he'd converted it into like a second living room.
Yeah.
And I set up my gaming systems and my TV, and I had a couch and a big recliner. And I would take the recliner and I'd kick the legs out and then flatten it, and I'd lay on my stomach on it, and I'd play the first Dark Cloud till like 4 or 5 in the morning every night during the summer, and then sleep till noon.
Amazing.
So I just look at those pictures and go, you know, the game may not hold up well over time, but it's one of those that you just look at and you go, I have such great memories with that game.
Oh yeah, we've all got those. I mean, my first experience with the PS2, well, on that subject, I actually wasn't my own PS2. I didn't get one until a year later because they were. If you remember, there was a shortage in Europe.
Impossible to find.
Yeah,
even here.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. It's just the demand was so high in Europe that everyone at school was like, "Did your mum get you a PS2? Did you get your PS2? Did you get your PS2?" And it's like, "No, man. Did you get one?" Yeah. They literally had like 100,000 or something, like less than that maybe, for this, you know, this console that was going to supersede one that sold tons, like the PS1.
Oh yeah.
So I just didn't understand why they did that, but I remember a friend did manage to get one, and he had never had a console before, and we just couldn't believe he randomly got this PS2. And he had Smuggler's Run. Did you ever play that?
Yes, my grandma bought me my PS2, and she's like, let's go get a game. And I wanted to get Smuggler's Run. But she's like, my grandma's one of those that she supported that, but she's like, I'm not going to get you a game about smuggling drugs. And then so she got me Onimusha Warlords instead. I'm like, okay, so smuggling drugs or murdering people. I mean...
Actually... Onimusha Warlords was awesome.
Oh, it was fantastic. The first game was so good. I was so pleased with that because Smuggler's Run in the end was like, eh.
Yeah. One of my friends, the launch game he got was a game called X Squad. Have you heard of it?
No, it may have had a different name here.
Oh, Jesus. No, it was called X Squad in the US. And it was a launch game, and it was toilet. Absolute garbage. And I was like, why did you get this?
Yeah, I remember that one.
You could have got... Well, there were quite a few launch games on the PS2.
The best you could have gotten was Fantavision.
Oh, God.
About generating firework displays. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's been re-released on the PS4?
Yeah.
As a PS2 classic? Pretty cool.
So, while we're on the topic of getting the PS2, I got mine the Christmas they came out.
I got mine after Christmas after.
My buddy and I I had friends in high school that played games, but I was the most hardcore about it. I had one other buddy who was really into it as well, and between him and I, it was kind of this race to see like who could get one first. And I remember I was on vacation down in Louisiana, and he called me. Or I called him or sent him a message or something. He's like, yeah, dude, I got one. And I was just super jealous the whole rest of the trip. Because there he is at home playing his PS2. And I got home and got to play it with him. And then on Christmas, I didn't get one. And then my birthday is like 8 days after Christmas. And I was at home at my dad's house. And I open up this big box. And it's the PS2 steering wheel.
Oh, nice.
I open it and it's this bright blue box, and I knew that they came in blue boxes, and I'm trying to hold my excitement back. It was like, obviously I didn't want to get super excited about a gift and then realize it's not what I wanted and then be super let down. And I saw it, and I looked at my dad. I'm like, Dad, this is fantastic, but I don't have a PS2. And he goes, you don't? He's like, no, Dad, I don't. And he goes, oh, well, Grandma wanted me to give you this, and it was my PS2.
Oh.
I was so pumped.
Yeah, that's crazy. That PS2 was the first console I was bought for Christmas. PS1 was just a random purchase, but the PS2 was the first one I actually unwrapped. And like you say, it was in that big blue box.
Yup.
And it weighed a ton. I was like, oh man, what's in here? And it came with Crazy Taxi, a 007 game, which I loved, even though it's, pretty poor now, but I thought it was great. Yeah, it was good. Agent Under Fire. It was really good, actually. I don't care what you think. And a WWF game.
Wow, you got quite a bundle.
It was cool. I was like so happy about that. But yeah, and then I remember another friend, he got a launch console with SSX. That was one of the first games that came out in Europe, the snowboarding game. And Tekken Tag Tournament. And of course Time Splitters.
Oh man.
Was a launch game. And he got later on he begged his parents, begged them for Silent Scope. Do you remember that?
I do.
And he was like, "Oh my god, this is so cool!" And but there was no sniper rifle for the PS2, so it's just having to use the DualShock, and this is not the same as the arcades, dude.
Wow, we got really sidetracked.
Yeah, I apologize.
It's
easy to get sidetracked when you cast yourself back to the times when you had these games.
For those of you who want another English lesson, what you just witnessed is a physical representation of stream of consciousness.
Yep. Spot on.
Yeah. So we were talking about Star Fox.
We're actually bringing ourselves back to the 90s again, early 90s.
Starwing / Lilac Wars.
Yep.
But for the rest of the show, we will just affectionately refer to it as Star Fox.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
So we were struggling to come up with a game to play because some of the stuff on the list had been rather large, and since I'm dumping so much time into Dark Souls, I didn't want to play anything super long. So our good friend Mr. Matt Ernie recommended that we play Star Fox because the newest Star Fox just dropped on the Wii U last week.
Yeah, it did.
To a little bit of a kind of a resounding thud.
Yeah, I was going to say I've not really heard much about it, but do you remember watching some of the footage from E3 last year?
It looked great.
Oh, dude, it looked like toilet.
Really? I remember it looked like this is going to be cool. I mean, it's a high-def Star Fox game.
Okay. No, it looked cool. It definitely looked better than previous.
Oh, you're talking like
games,
gameplay-wise. I'm thinking graphics-wise.
I was thinking graphics-wise. It looked like kind of looked like a GameCube game, which I don't really have a huge problem with.
Now that you mentioned that, I do remember that.
Yeah.
I think I'm referring to watching later videos of it.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time on this game, like a lot of time, and when you look at the gameplay footage, I was like, doesn't look amazing. I mean, it might play great, which is the most important thing, really, but it didn't look great, and that was the first impression, is what you see, right?
I mean, if you break it down to what it is, Star Fox gameplay is very dated, and that style of gameplay does not really hold up.
Yeah, that's true.
Because so at its core, Star Fox is an on-rails arcade shooter with an airplane. It's the gist of it. Instead of it being side-scrolling, you're behind it. You don't control if your plane goes forward or backward other than boost and brake, and you go left and right. That's it. It's an arcade-style shooter. And I can't really foresee that being a successful game style in 2016.
Yeah, that's very true. It is old school. It's like those kind of Gradius games and stuff, those kind of side-scrolling.
But those games still hold up, because I'm think of a few years ago when Sinomora came out.
Yeah, true.
That game was fantastic because they tweaked the method, or they tweaked the genre enough to make it interesting. I mean, I haven't played Star Fox Zero, so I guess I can't really speak super knowledgeably about it, but just thinking about the style of game that this is, it was great for Super Nintendo, and N64 even better, but after that it's like, okay, we've advanced into full 3D worlds, let's utilize that.
Yeah.
So
totally.
The original Star Fox came out in 93. And
yes,
it was initially developed as a prototype called NES Glider on the Nintendo, which was inspired by another game with a very similar name called Star Glider that was actually released on the NES.
Right.
Then once that prototype was complete, they ported it to the Super Nintendo. And it looked like ass. So at that point, because the 3D really wasn't that great, the programmer insisted on having some custom hardware. So they hired a chip designer to create the FX chip, or the Super FX chip. Mm-hmm. And there were other games that were released in that, like the Dirt Racer FX, Stunt Race FX, Vortex, games like that. And I was reading more about this chip, and it was actually really interesting because it was initially, when they were developing it, it was called the Super Mario FX chip. Or once it was released, they changed it to Mario, MARIO, which stood for Mathematical Argonaut Rotation Input-Output Chip. And it was just it was a chip that renders 3D polygons and assists the NES in rendering advanced 2D effects.
The Super NES.
Yeah, so it was a chip that sat...
Yeah.
It didn't go in the Super Nintendo, it was in the cartridge.
Yes. Yeah. And I read somewhere that they joked that everything was in the chip and there was just this big box around it.
Yes, the NES was just a box to... Yeah.
Just a power unit.
Now, hold on.
Yeah.
No. Is that right? Did the FX chip go into the Super Nintendo? Or was it in the cartridge?
I don't know. I thought it was in the cartridge.
I think it was too.
Because, but then I don't know, because it was...
Because the NES... Yeah, it had to have been in the cartridge because the Super Nintendo came out in 91.
Right.
Okay. And they wouldn't
I
go
remember... I remember the Super NES having the... was it Mode 7?
What's that?
It was like a graphical... sort of a graphical chip inside the Super Nintendo that was heavily marketed as being favored, certainly against like the Genesis and stuff, because it had this thing called Mode 7 where it could process everything quicker. And the architecture of the 16-bit system was just, massively dominant over anything Sega released at that time. There was Mode 7 was what it was called, and it was like, I remember the F-Zero used it. Like, have you played F-Zero for the SNES? Yeah. So that game is like really fast, and like it kind of has this pseudo 3D quality to it. And that kind of game would probably not have been possible on the Genesis. So that became a real selling point for that console. But Mode 7 is separate, I think, to this FX chip.
Oh, so that's the processing mode that like Mario Kart used, Pilot Wings.
Yes. So you can even see like if there's like there's a screenshot somewhere of a prototype of Mode 7, and you can see the way it even looks like that's exactly how Mario Kart looks. With the road at that kind of isometric angle.
Yeah, it does the pseudo 3D depth.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why graphically that console looked pretty sweet at the time. Huh. But yeah, I read that. There was this British developer that kind of hacked up the Game Boy to develop a 3D engine for it, which Nintendo thought was impossible at the time. And when they saw them build this game called X for the Game Boy, and Nintendo hired the guys who made it to then work on these games like Star Wing, Star Fox for the SNES.
Interesting.
So yeah, like some cool little pieces of history about how this game came to be, because I believe that like Starwing was really unique at its time, that there wasn't anything else like it when it was released.
Well, and I thought what was so interesting is they developed this chip that was incredibly powerful for the time, and they demanded it for Star Fox. However, in the end, Star Fox really only used it to render simple polygons.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Now, mind you, back in the 90s, games only had a few hundred polygons, whereas now games register in the millions or tens of millions. But they really, as this chip came along, they had a different iteration of it, because the first chip, it could go up to 24 megahertz, but it was split into two categories of 10. And then after that, the next iteration of the chip was actually dubbed the Super FX, was able to hit the full 21.
I see.
But so like Yoshi's Island, a good example of this chip in use was they used it to stretch those sprites. So when the bosses would expand, they'd take the small sprite and they'd expand it out to the big one, and it could move around the whole screen. That's an example of the Super FX chip in play. Or other games, I guess in Yoshi's Island as well, where they use that parallax effect on the foreground and the background. That's the Super FX chip at work again.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Star Fox as a whole had a really large impact on the development of pseudo 3D games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, it plays really well. There were attempts by Sega later on, and they were just kind of clunky, and like it wasn't really true 3D graphics. It was just kind of faked, and it was kind of obvious, and it was just not. There just weren't good games.
I mean, let's be honest. The NES Star Fox is not a pretty game.
No, it's not.
It's very ugly. It's got hard lines. I mean, compared to some of the other games that the Super Nintendo pumped out, this game is quite hideous.
Yeah, it is. It's not. It doesn't have the rich color, smooth color, and curved lines that all the Mario titles did.
It reminds me of. I think we talked about this a while ago, but when I was a kid, I had this. I don't want to call it a VR headset, but it was this red headset that you'd put up to your eyes, kind of like the Virtual Boy, and you were this tank, and you'd be driving along, and you'd be shooting spaceships or airplanes as they were coming towards you, just with different buttons on the headset. But it was all these really angular green lines with no fill. So it was just...
okay.
It's really hard to explain without showing a picture of it. But like when 3D rendering... if you've ever seen a 3D model without its textures or without the polygons filled in, you just see the wireframe.
You just see the rigid body.
That's what Star Fox is, except with the wireframes filled in with just flat colors. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. You basically have... I had something similar. I just... Again, it's so vague in my mind, but... it was a kind of blue headset with these two like square glasses you put on, and you basically had this vanishing point in the center of your lens, and then lines that were all drawn towards this vanishing point. It's kind of like the basics of graphic design when you're trying to draw something with depth, where all lines point to one center, like one focal point. And you were just kind of this... I couldn't even describe it as a ship, but you're supposed to be a ship. It's really just a block. With a couple of triangles on the side, and you're kind of dodging in and out, and dodging in and out, and going up and down, and avoiding obstacles. And it was cool, but this is like really early days. I can barely remember it. That's how old it is.
I found that unit that I was talking about. It's called the Tommytronic 3D Sky Attack.
Yes, that's what mine looked like.
There's a red and there's a white one.
It wasn't called that, but it definitely was that shape. You kind of held it like binoculars.
You might there's a picture of a bunch of them here.
Yeah, I think mine was blue.
Sky Fighter, Sky Duel, Sherman Attack, Jungle Fighter. There's a blue one.
So old school. Maybe it was that blue one. And
these are super cool. I remember constantly being fascinated by these because it's very similar to what you see with like the Samsung VR right now, where you've got the buttons on the headset. The only difference is when you moved your head now, these ones didn't move, whereas now they do.
Yeah, it's just put some tracking on and you've got yourself a Samsung VR.
So look it up. Tommytronic 3D Sky Attack is the one I used to have. It's kind of like this maroonish red. I'd like to track one of those down again.
I reckon you could snap one up online, perhaps. But
here's the look at this. This is exactly what the graphics looked like.
The graphics look so cool.
I need to get one of these. I'm gonna buy one today. I have to.
Yeah, that's exactly the picture I was looking at. Yeah, so I was just looking at a picture of the.
But this is exactly what Star Fox looks like. Okay, let me back up. Not exactly. This is what Star Fox is similar to.
Yeah.
In that same sense, it's more fluid, obviously. But poor graphics aside, the gameplay itself was super revolutionary. In that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It kind of harkens back to those old NES games like 1943. Those top down.
Oh yeah, with the
bottom
plane.
to top scrolling shooters. But this one, you're now behind the plane.
Yeah, and you get a ton of controls as well, which I like. It's got some great depth to it. Like you can brake and hold back to allow for other events to happen before you reach that point, or you can speed up. You can also use the shoulder buttons to kind of flip your plane onto its side.
Do an aileron roll.
Or do a full-on barrel roll.
Well, let's be aeronautical about this, Tom. It's not a barrel roll.
Because one of the animals is like, do a barrel roll.
Yeah, and that's incorrect. It's an aileron roll.
I noticed some spelling mistakes in the version I was playing.
Oh, yeah.
But... yeah, so that was cool. You actually felt like you had quite a lot of control over the airplane.
What's interesting, though, is that those come into play, though, because you'll have some enemies that come up behind you and they'll start shooting you, and the only way to get them to stop is to brake really hard to have them go past, a la Top Gun style. Or buildings will start falling and you have to boost forward to get under them so you can pick up the next weapon power-up or extra bomb.
Yeah. I really like. Can you grab this game on Wii U now? Is that one of the titles available on the Virtual Console?
I don't know.
Because I think it. I mean, yeah. I'm not. It is dated and everything. It is. It hasn't lived up, but the gameplay is still there. I was actually really enjoying playing it.
So the story's pretty basic. You have two planets. For people who haven't played Star Fox, there's two planets: Corneria and Venom.
Is it? Yeah.
And it's kind of that parallel of good versus evil. This giant ape monkey man named Andros was banished from Corneria, flees to Venom, and in the process declares war on Corneria, and sets loose this huge army to wreak havoc in the Lilat system. The military commander of Corneria, General Pepper, has this new fleet of planes called R-Wings.
Mm-hmm.
But he has no pilots to fly them.
Yes.
So he calls on this elite mercenary group called Star Fox.
Yes.
Which is Fox McCloud, Falco Lombardi, Peppy Hare, and is it just
your favorite?
Slippy Toad?
Yeah, your favorite.
Oh, I hate Slippy.
They're all so incompetent. Help me, Fox. All right, dude. Can't help all of you.
And then they bitch at you for shooting them when they fly in front of you.
Yeah, I know.
But I think, to me, I thought that was a really cool concept. Like, you had these other people flying with you, and you need to... how you interact with them depends on how easy your future levels are going to be.
That's true.
So if they're being chased and you shoot that person down, then they're going to survive to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, because they can be out of the next stage, isn't that right? They'll be in the docking bay being repaired, and then they might join you for a feature level. Is that correct? Or do they never come back?
They come back, I think. I know they come back in the N64 version.
Oh, okay. They're not around for boss battles, though. But they'll rejoin the following stage. Yeah, okay. And you can... Yeah, it's up to you if you want to help them out, but if you do help them, then obviously they're going to be around. They'll make your life a lot easier.
I think
probably
my favorite feature of this game is the different routes that you can take from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So this one, it's very basic. You have Corneria and Venom. Those are the two constants. But there's 3 different routes that you can take, top, middle, or bottom. And each route has all different worlds. And I think there's 6 total.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just round up. There's about 20 different levels in this game.
Yes.
And then the N64 version took it even further, and you could like bounce between, but we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts to say this, but I didn't enjoy going back to the Super Nintendo version.
Really?
It's really rough around the edges.
It is rough, no doubt.
It
fun,
is rough. But it's way harder.
I was about to say, I was going to ask you this actually. So I progressed somewhere into like not very far into Star Fox to begin with. And then when I started the game again, I think I must have selected something different because the first level started again, but the sky was orange and the whole level was like more of a beige color. Is that different to the first level I'd played before that?
No, because all of the levels, no matter which path you take, start on Corneria.
Yeah, but it looked different. It wasn't like, so the first level is like green grass, some weird looking, like some rectangle buildings, like cuboids. That level, I played that level again, but the whole image was different. Like it was orange and brown and stuff.
That's weird.
You not see that? I'll give you a picture. There's a picture for you. Huh. So that's how the first level looked for me when I tried it the second time.
Wait, which route did you take? Did you take Route 3?
I just kept with the standard route.
Because now that you show me that picture, that's how mine looked.
Oh, yes. Okay, you're right. Because you can select, yeah, okay, that's how it was. Route 3, I did Route 3. Yeah, you're right. That's how it works.
Interesting.
I got kind of mixed up.
So it's different parts of the planet that you're going through then.
Yeah. So even if you take a different route, all the levels seem to change in terms of atmosphere and stuff. So, yeah, that's really interesting.
I think the other thing that's really cool about this, back to the development process of this, is Shigeru Miyamoto had a huge hand in this as one of the producers.
Yeah.
He was not interested in creating a traditional sci-fi game with traditional space characters.
Yeah, he didn't want the tropes of aliens and humanoids and humans, right?
Correct. So he chose animal characters. And along with that, he was also a huge fan of English puppet drama. So he wanted the cover to feature puppets. So if you look at the box art for the original Star Fox, it actually has puppets on it.
For the SNES version?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. So the Japanese version has all the puppets, but on the European one, it's just Fox McCloud.
Really?
But you've got Falco and you've got Peppy.
Even on the back of the box?
I'm not sure about the back. I only saw the front. Oh no, okay.
Yeah,
I've just seen a different one. Maybe I was just looking at a completely alternative version.
So how far did you make it into Star Fox, the SNES version?
I made it to stage 5 or 6.
Holy cats.
No, 5. Holy cats?
You made it a lot farther than I did.
I don't know. I remember the third stage was pretty cool because it was indoors. Did you do that one?
No, I couldn't get past stage 2.
Stage 2 is tough.
The asteroid field?
Yeah, I had to confess that I used some save states in the asteroid field.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just kept getting destroyed by meteoroids.
I think what's difficult, because I played the N64 version first, and then I came back to this one. So I was taking a step backwards in terms of gameplay. But in this one, there are checkpoints in the levels, but they're not readily apparent.
Yeah.
So in the first level, the first checkpoint, you're going through, I don't know if you remember this, but there's a row of arches that you can fly under, and then halfway through the arches split left or right. And if you go to the right, you get a weapon power-up, but if you go to the left, you get the checkpoint.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And if you die, you have to start the whole level over.
Do you remember? Do you remember playing Star Wing when it came out? Star Fox.
Oh yeah.
Like, what did you think?
I
Can
thought
you
it was
remember
fantastic.
how you? Yeah.
Well,
I remember
for one reason, because the only thing I ever wanted to be growing up is a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
That's it. So playing this, I'm like, this is fantastic. I don't care. The game's just great.
Yeah. I remember playing it for the first time and thinking, wow, this is amazing. And I wished that we had a Super Nintendo and not a Sega Mega Drive at the time.
Yes.
I remember thinking, I wish we could trade in somehow. But the thing with the Nintendo stuff in general, leading up to the GameCube, I guess, is it was higher priced, at least in Europe.
Much higher.
I don't know if, yeah, like it was so expensive. Or like, the way we kind of saw it, like, were like the kids whose parents could afford it had Nintendos, and the rest of us had Mega Drives. Because the Mega Drive had good bundles and stuff, and I never had it. It was my brother's console. I just played on it, and so I didn't really understand that culture. But it was understood that at his school that so a lot of the kids who had like brothers and sisters, their parents would buy them Nintendos because they were like lots of good multiplayer, kid-friendly games, and whereas they just bought my brother the Mega Drive. But yeah, it was wicked. Like we played Star Wing. I was like, this is awesome. This has got to be the future right here. Like it played really well, and it looked so different to everything else at the time.
So the history of Star Fox after Star Fox 1 is where things get really interesting, because it was a smashing success. So they clearly said, okay, let's move forward. Let's make Star Fox 2. But what's interesting is the same year that Star Fox 1 released, 93, Nintendo announced their plans for their next console, which is interesting because the Super Nintendo released in 91.
Yeah.
2 years later, they're already talking about their next console.
Yeah, I mean, they had Sega at their heels. Like, they were really thinking, shit, we need to make sure we're still on top and innovating.
Well, and I guess back then, now we look at video game console life cycles as 10 years. Back then it was 5, because technology was developing so fast. You had the Super Nintendo in 91, then you had the N64 in 96, then the GameCube was 2000 or 2001.
Yeah.
And then you had the Wii in 06. So it was 5 years consistently.
Yeah.
But so they started developing Star Fox 2. And there was actually a lot of news stories that ran on this quite recently, too, because Star Fox is relevant again. I mean, it's not every decade you get a new Star Fox game.
True.
So they had Star Fox 2 developed up to 95% completion. And then the N64 was about to drop. And they pulled it back and said, wait a minute. We don't want to release this, Star Fox 2, as the new standard for 3D gaming when we've got this ultra-powerful system coming out. So let's pull this back and respec it to fit. Actually, they just scrapped it and started over on Star Fox 64.
Wow. Well, apparently you can play Star Fox 2, though.
Well, after they scrapped it, they still went back and completed it through Q&A testing. So there is a full completed version out there somewhere. I believe they sent out prototype demo cartridges to some people. It wasn't the full game.
Right, okay. Oh man, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to play it. I've just seen some I'm just looking at some screenshots actually. It looks way more detailed than the first one. Like they've really put a lot of work into it.
Oh, see, I think it looks worse.
Really? Or maybe I'm looking at a different screen.
Well, here, if you look at, there was a really cool article on Kotaku about it this week. They actually have video footage of it. But if you look at like the UI when you're out in space, what's cool though is that apparently you were able to go between different planets and choose which one you wanted. But if you look at the sprites for the character models, they look terrible.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It doesn't look too great.
Yeah.
Oh, because there's actually nice. Still, I'd be interested to play. I can't believe though they worked. I mean, it happens a lot working on a game, getting it to basically completion, and then no, not happening. That must suck so much for the developers.
Well, I think the important thing to take away though is that they took a lot of the ideas from Star Fox 2 and dumped them into Star Fox 64. Like the concept of being able to jump between different planets, different vehicles, all range mode. Because in Star Fox for Super Nintendo, it's just flying forward.
Yeah.
All range mode, your wings expand and you can fly around in this 3D environment.
Yep, true.
But in Star Fox 2, you could choose 6 different characters.
The thing is, that because Star Fox 64 was released in like 97 or something. Was that it was one of the first games, wasn't it?
Let's look. Release date was April 97. So very close to release. And man, this is another game that I can still remember the day I bought this or got this. Like this was that impactful of a game.
Wow.
So I was with my stepbrother. He was probably, I think he was 10 years older than me.
Right.
Probably just out of high school.
Yeah.
And Super Nintendo, there was no, I don't think people realize this, especially younger people, there was no regulation or consistency across the board with, hey, this is how much new games cost. Nowadays, you can expect a brand new game to come out and be $59.99. You just expect that. Or in the event of some other games, like they're $39. 3DS games, generally $40. It's just, there's a constant. Back then, it wasn't. So Star Fox 64 came out at $79.99 in 97.
Is this because it came with the Rumble Pack?
That's a very large part of it. And that's why this game just blew the scene apart, because never before was there... Well, hold on. When did the DualShock controller come out?
I want to say 98. Because I remember I got a PS1 in early 97 and it didn't have the DualShock. And then I remember Final Fantasy VII didn't use DualShock, but Metal Gear Solid did.
Okay, wait. I'm looking here and it says the DualShock was introduced in Japan in late 97. So yes, Star Fox 64 was the first game to feature Rumble support.
Yes, and it was a huge deal because I remember the adverts on TV. That's all I remember about that game, because actually playing it for this week is the first time I've played Star Fox 64.
Wow.
I saw adverts back in 97 on TV, Lilac Wars, and then this huge ship, this really hugely 3D, tons of polygons ship and space. Like, it was really exciting. It was just blew up, and there was this voice that was over the top of the commercial that was like, Rumble! And it just hugely advertised the fact that it came with this friggin' pack that you strapped onto the bottom of your pad. And that it would just, they made it look so immersive and cool, like they did in all the 90s commercials back then.
Well, we went to Shopko, which is like a lower grade Target that's really only in the Midwest, and bought this for $80. Came home and played the shit out of it. The next day, every summer I went to my cousin's farm for a few weeks. And I didn't realize the significance of how cool he was at the time, but my stepbrother let me take this game with me. Like, he had just dropped $80 on a brand new game. He's like, here you go, you can take this with you for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Like, I don't want to say I wouldn't, but if you're just out of high school, you just spent all your money on a brand new game that you want to play. Like, he was super pumped for this, and he just gave it to me to take. He's like, I'll play it when you get back.
What a legend.
Yeah.
Give him a ring now.
Yeah. Thanks, guy.
Hey, man. Talking about Star Fox, it just reminded me of that time you were super generous.
I actually still have the Rumble Pack. So I played this week on the N64 with the Rumble Pack.
I have a question about the Rumble Pack.
Yes.
Did it have a battery? Did it have its own battery?
2 AAAs.
Yeah, okay. So I remember people buying Light Up Wars, Star Fox 64, and I think it might have come with batteries, which, yeah, maybe. Let's say it did. Either way, most kids played through it with the first charge and then never replaced the batteries.
Oh, see, I always had the batteries. Like, it was so cool.
I remember kids, like, batteries are running out, parents are like, we'll pick some of them out, and, like, just never getting around to it. Like, everybody had a Rumble Pack attached to their pads, but they just didn't work. Or people just eventually found them annoying, maybe. And then that's why having them built into their controllers, like Sony did, was obviously the way forward, ultimately.
Well, the downside was that if a game required the save pack, it could not also support the Rumble Pack.
Oh my god, the save pack. I remember the save packs. Jesus.
Yeah.
Like Turok, I think he's the save pack.
And my god, those things weren't cheap either.
Yeah, I know. What about the friggin' memory expander thing that you put in the top of the N64?
I never had one of those, but usually the games that required it came with it. Like Donkey Kong Country just came with it. And that's the main reason that I never played Majora's Mask, because I didn't have that.
Did you have? So you didn't have Perfect Dark?
Nope.
It was another game that required the pack, I remember. Because I never had an N64. I bought them when they became retro, but my friends had them, and I was always super jealous because it was just the ultimate console to have for multiplayer.
Oh, yeah. And Star Fox was one of the fantastic multiplayer games.
Yeah, see, they never had it. It was either Jet Force Gemini, Perfect Dark,
GoldenEye,
of course, and Super Smash Brothers. That was all we played, those 4 games.
What about Mario Kart?
No.
Yeah.
Like, you turn up at a party and sometimes Mario Kart was on, but this specific set of friends I had at school, we kind of go to their house after school, and he had like 4 controllers in the system and all these games, so that was what we did. You know, I had a PlayStation, and it was nowhere near as friendly when it came to multiplayer.
No, because you had to have the multi-tap and extra controllers. And...
Yeah, exactly. Although Micro Machines V3 on the PlayStation was awesome 4-player multiplayer.
That's not the first time you've told me that.
Is it not?
No, you're like, you got to play this.
When did I last tell you that? I don't remember. Was it years ago? Shit.
So, Star Fox 64, fully 3D, actually 3D, not fake 3D.
Yeah, proper. The real deal.
Expands upon the story a little bit in that Andros is back at it again. This time, James McCloud, Fox's father, takes off to go fight Andros with his crew, with a character named Pigma in tow. They get captured, and James is killed. One of the pilots is able to make it back and tell Cornerian Army about what happened. Fox McCloud and his crew get sent out to enact justice and get their revenge. It's basically the same story of Star Fox 1. There's really not a whole lot you can vary with this story.
Yeah, I heard it might even be somewhat of a loose remake.
I could see that, because there's a lot of the same levels.
Yeah, it's kind of, a bit of a remake, but with some new extra bits chucked in.
Well, and they add new skills, like you can do the loop.
Yeah, that's cool.
The backflip.
The somersault.
And then when you go into all range mode, which we were talking about before, there are certain enemies or boss fights where it opens up into this big 3D space and you're flying around in all directions. You can do this Immelman loop where you flip up backwards and then turn over and head the other direction. I believe it added the ability to lock on. I don't think the Super Nintendo version had that. So if you hold your charge, it'll lock onto enemies and destroy them.
There was no lock on the SNES, and which was difficult when you were trying to use like the bombs and stuff.
Oh yeah, because you had to detonate the bombs yourself. So you had to press B, fire the bomb, press B again to detonate it.
I didn't know that. I think I was just launching them and they'd blow up on impact.
They will eventually, but if you want to blow up something really close to you, you double tap B and it'll blow up.
Yeah, okay.
But probably the coolest feature of this is how you choose your route through the game. The only one that I can think of, or that I know for a fact off the top of my head because it's been so long since I've played this, is early in the first level, Falco flies in front of you and he starts yelling at you like, "Hey guys, I've got these, these guys are on me. Get them off me." And if you get them off of him, it opens up a new path in the world that you can go, and that changes your route for the rest of the game. If you miss, then you continue along the bottom route.
Oh.
So, needless to say, I played through this once. I beat it. But my knowledge on where all of these hidden paths were is completely gone. So I think the basic route is just the bottom row, because that's the row that I went.
Is that the one that goes through a kind of dark yellow asteroid field? Well, on the second stage? There's like a green one just above, and then the bottom one is kind of a yellow one.
Yeah.
That's the route I took.
Did you make it through to the end of this one?
No, again, I got probably to like stage 4 or 5 again, same as the first game. I kind of just played enough of them to have an understanding and idea and like experience all the different levels and stuff and get used to the mechanics. But Star Fox 64 was really cool. I couldn't believe I'd missed this game.
It's I was reading through some forums. I just wanted to kind of see general response to this, and I stumbled upon this one guy who was bitching about the 3DS remake. He's like, "Really? 2 hours long? I'm done with this game," and trading it in. Like, dude, there's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. There's 15 levels here. Yeah. And there's multiple different routes that you can take. Give it a shot.
Yeah, it's cool. And like, yeah, there's tons you can do.
You can go from the first level up to the top and then eventually end up back on the bottom row. They introduced this other fleet too called Star Wolf.
Oh yes.
And I don't really know where that, like, I don't know the story behind that, but that's a fleet that Pigma, who apparently turned on James McCloud, joined Star Wolf. So now he's coming back to kill Fox McCloud, and he's constantly taunting him about how his dad died and all of that. But there's one level that you get to where you have to destroy this base that's been armed with a bomb. And you're in all-range mode, and then Star Wolf and his team show up. And they're really aggressive and very difficult to beat.
Yeah.
And I thought for sure that if I didn't destroy all of them and then destroy the base, it was going to die, take a life, and I'd have to redo it. But I forgot that if you just let the base explode, it changes your path through the game.
No way.
So instead of punishing you like, "Oh, you have to beat this," it just says, "Okay, you failed here. Now you have to go to this level instead of this level."
Oh, that's cool. I managed to defeat all of them before it exploded, but only when there was literally 15 seconds left.
Oh man, I couldn't even get close.
It is hard, like especially with the only way you can defeat Star Wolf is he always comes up behind you, and you have to do like a somersault to get behind him. Mm-hmm. And it always triggers this dialogue where he's like, "What are you doing?" or something like that.
Learned a new move, eh?
Yes, something like that of that ilk, and yeah, that's how. But it's still difficult because you're constantly having to turn, like kind of bank around,
and then you got to use your brake when you're going around the corners too. I mean, it's traditional flight sim stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, for the time, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and the animation's really smooth. Like, you could kind of play some of the other N64 games that are pretty jerky, but this one actually feels very, very smooth when you're playing it.
So, you stayed along the bottom route as well?
Yeah.
So, did you make it to the mission where you have to destroy the satellite?
Nope, I didn't.
That's another all-range mode where they show up, you have to defeat them, and there's a satellite in the center that you have to destroy. You can either defeat all of them and then destroy the satellite, or just straight up destroy the satellite in the middle. But it's this spire in the center that has all these things that you have to shoot off of it. And I think there's probably 10 or 12 of them, but it's rotating. So you never really know where you are in relation to where the pieces are that you have to shoot. I beat that one with practically 0 health left. I mean, Star Wolf was on my ass. I'm like, this is the last one. Either he's going to get me or I'm going to blow up the satellite, and just ended up getting it. But the last level is actually really cool because you drop down onto Venom and you approach this temple and you fly into the door of this temple and you're following this stone giant who's running down this hallway. And he's knocking these pillars down, and you're having to fly up and down through them, boost or break according to how it's falling, and then shoot the pieces off of this stone giant. So it's the first part of the final boss battle. And I beat him with 0 health left. And shooting bombs at him did nothing. And then you pop into this big open area with this kind of like a exhaust port in the ground. Fox is like, hey guys, I'm going to go it alone from here. And he does this big backflip and plummets down into this exhaust tube. And you're having to rotate through and avoid these electrical fields and doors that are closing and opening. And it's a really stressful area to get through.
I was just going to say that the Super Nintendo version has a stage just like that, where you're going through this corridor when there's doors closing, stuff coming. Like, it's the same. I think it's pretty much the same game, but just, graphically completely separate.
Yeah, and you have to hit like L or R to rotate your plane so you're vertical and make sure that you're lined up.
Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Star Wars.
Yes.
Like that feeling when Luke is like flying through
doing the trench run.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like that kind of, it's stressful, like you say, but when you manage to get your plane like just through this thin gap, it is pretty satisfying.
Well, the final boss, it's so weird because I don't know if there are different variations, because I popped in, I'm like, I don't remember this being the final boss, and it's just a giant head of Andross that's just this huge monkey, and it's very similar to that opening scene in Mario 64 when you can pull on Mario's nose and eyes and everything. It looked exactly like that. Andross, and you're shooting him, and he's got these disembodied hands that have targets on them that you have to shoot. The hands will come out and they'll slap at you, or they'll try to smash you between their hands, or he'll shoot lasers out of his eyes. I got him down first try, but again, just by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah,
very difficult.
I got the. Do you know when you're on the third stage? Maybe you get to this boss who's like a secret weapon or something. Do you remember that?
What's he?
You're kind of like, I can't remember. He looks like a transformer.
Oh yeah, and you have to shoot. It's an all range mode boss, and you have to shoot him in the back.
Or
is that the first boss?
All I remember is you get him, you destroy him, and it's like, yeah, you did it, and then suddenly he comes back to life, and he still has another half health left.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that guy. I destroyed him, and I was on literally 0 health. It's like a smidgen of red in there in that bar, and then I was like, oh, thank God for that. And then he came back alive, and I was like, oh shit. So I didn't defeat him, but that was that was awesome.
Yeah, that's the bosses are super cool in this game. I sent you a picture of what Andross looks like at the end.
I totally get the reference to the Mario 64 intro.
Yeah, it's
just the action pulling his nose and tweaking his ears and stuff.
Well, and what's cool is you destroy his hands, and then you destroy his face, and there's this robot underneath that gets really aggressive and starts flying towards you and crushing you and shooting these lasers at you, and basically just dump everything you can into him. And as soon as you destroy him, Fox flips out and then comes out of this exhaust port, and it's kind of a hokey trope where the camera pans out and it sees this ball of fire shoot out of the exhaust port, and Fox pops out of it, and they just fly away happy.
Woo!
But I had a thought at the end of this game as I was watching the final cutscene roll. And I went, okay, the gameplay is great, graphics are gorgeous, but holy crap, this cutscene is shit. I mean, the characters are walking towards the camera. Their feet aren't properly rooted to the ground. It's really janky, jerky motions. And I look at it and go, this is N64 Nintendo quality?
What is it? Is it just really? Is it in engine and everything? Just really.
Yeah, it's so. Fox and his crew are called up to General Pepper, and he's like, "Hey, we want you to join our army." And Star Fox or Fox is like, "No, we prefer to do things our way." And then they turn around and take off. Basically, like, "No, screw you."
Is it like they're walking, and then there's all these guards who are either side of them as they walk down a red carpet towards the general?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I can see it now.
It looks so bad.
Yeah, I guess it does. It certainly doesn't get any better when they're running across the desert.
That was a pretty cool cutscene at the end. So you see I don't remember the name of the ship. I just remember the name of the robot that flies the ship. His name was Rob, or NUS-64, which is,
you
know, a harken back to Rob the Robot from the NES.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember the name of the ship.
I saw the I saw some of the comments on the ending for this cutscene, and some people will write things like, I cannot believe how bad they fucked this up.
It's so ugly. Did you... Oh, we forgot to talk about the tank level. Did you play that one?
Is this also with Star Fox 64?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I played the tank level.
You didn't get to the tank level was...
It depends how far that is. It depends which route you go on, I guess.
It's the bottom route. So...
I'm sure I was on the bottom.
Let me show you. Here's a map.
Are you kind of driving through the desert?
Yes. So it's the bottom route. So you've got Corneria, the asteroid field, a planet, a star, and then you've got the red planet. That's the tank level.
That's stage 5.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Yes. I thought I did make it there. Maybe I only made it to stage 4. Nope.
So that one was really interesting because you're now on the ground as a tank. You've got hover. You can do barrel rolls. It's a lot harder to control because, in my mind, flight sim games are invert. Down is up is down. But then when you go to a tank, I want the control to be, I want to aim up, I'm going to press up.
Yeah.
It was backwards, so I barely scraped through on this level.
Oh, shit. Did you play the GameCube version of Star Fox?
I did not.
Because I think, as well as having the flying and the driving, I think they also introduced some, like, controlling Fox himself.
That was Star Fox Adventures, right?
Oh, yeah, Star Fox Adventures, yeah. That's the one.
The ending of the N64 version was actually kind of cool, because if you sit through the final credits, it pulls up Andross's face, and it says, here's how many enemies you killed. And I think I only killed like 580 this time. But then it multiplies that number by 64, of course, for a monetary total of the damage that you caused. And if it's between a certain amount, I think if it's between 50 and 69,000, General Pepper will come on and there'll be a voice clip that's like, that's one steep bill, but it's worth it. And then you press A and it stamps the certificate. Like, that's how much they paid to Star Fox. But if you get over 70,000, then Pepper comes on. He's like, what? Stamps it.
Nice.
Yeah,
there's some nice touches.
I really enjoy Star Fox 64. It's a bit dated.
Yep. But I'm impressed with just based on when this came out, the fact that they had these conditionals where, okay, if you get to this point and you don't achieve this, the game still continues, but you're going to experience a different path. And for especially a Nintendo game on a cartridge in the 90s like that, I mean, it's just a bit different. I mean, I know they did it with RPGs like Chrono Trigger and stuff like that, but with something like an action space sim like Star Fox, I mean, you wouldn't normally expect that, or like you certainly wouldn't have expected it at the time. But me playing it for the first time now, I didn't expect to fail something and then be like, okay, no worries, you can just now do this route instead. Going. Yeah. Or that if you achieve different, ratings at the end, that there'd be some kind of slightly varied scene or dialogue area. So
I think what was interesting too is that for some reason I have 2 copies of this game, and I just grabbed the first one that I saw. It turns out that was my original cartridge from when I was a kid, and I got to the end of the game, and then it gives you the rankings, and I looked at number 1 is my ranking, and it just obliterated what I did now. So when I played through it today or yesterday, it gave me, I think I only had like 500 kills, so less than almost a third of what I had in my top rank. I had 2 lives left, and most of the levels, only one of my co-pilots survived. So I sent out a picture of my ranking from before. I mean, granted, it's not high score material, but all of the characters survived every level. I had 17 lives left, and I had almost 1,300 kills.
Whoa. So,
much better.
Yeah.
Much.
12-year-old Peterson was better.
Way better at Star Fox than 30-year-old Peterson. I think that's great, though, that, I mean, eventually the batteries in these cartridges are going to die.
I was going to say,
to be able to pull those out and be like, man, that's a little blast from the past right there.
Yeah, I certainly envy the fact that you kept a lot of your stuff that you had at that age, and it's kind of carried forward with you, and you can kind of revisit it. That's really cool.
Yeah.
If I could go back, I would not have traded all the rare shit that I had.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's just the way it happened. I used to just get games for Christmas, complete them by March, April, and then whatever came out, like a new Final Fantasy or something, I'd bring my games down to the shop and trade them in, and then it would be almost a straight swap. No money would change hands.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I would just trade that in later on, and that's pretty much how it went. Like I, just didn't have any money, so.
Wow.
Yeah. But no, if I could have kept some of those games.
Whew. I traded way too many of my PS1 games when the PS2 came out. I mean, I'm talking dozens of games.
Yeah.
Granted, most of them were shit. I kept a lot of the good ones.
Yeah. I just wish I kept the good ones, to be honest with you. Like the ones that meant something.
Yes.
That you played and thought, yes, this will go down as one of the best things I've ever experienced. So I'm going to keep this. It's not exactly huge. Store it somewhere. And I may come back. Or I've still got memory cards, though, interestingly.
Oh, I still have all mine.
Yeah.
Do you remember for PS3, they released the memory card adapter? Where you could take your memory cards from PS1 and PS2 and create digital versions of them?
Oh my god, yeah.
The only thing that sucked is that it was a one-way write. So if you put it on your PS3, you could not then copy it back to your cartridge or to your actual memory card.
Shit, yeah, you're right, because I played some of Final Fantasy VIII on my PSP, saved the file, and then I could transfer that save to my PS3 to play it on there.
Oh, no, you can still do that. You can transfer back and forth. I'm talking about your actual PS1 memory card. They had an adapter you could plug into. You could plug the actual memory card into that adapter and then connect that adapter to the PS3 and copy your PS1 memory card to your PS3.
Shit, I don't remember seeing anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been the early days of the
It got discontinued
PS3
very quickly.
I wish I'd had one of those PS3s that played PS2 games.
Oh, yeah. Mine crapped out real early in its life.
Shit, yeah, they didn't last very long, I heard.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on Star Fox?
Surprisingly brilliant. Both versions, to be honest. Like, even today. So,
Quite
thank
pleasant.
you, Matt Ernie. Was that who recommended?
Yeah. I don't think I'll play the Wii U version.
No. That's all I can say about that. I don't have a Wii U, so I have no choice.
Yeah.
But you would consider it, perhaps.
Should we do some emails, Tom?
Oh, yeah. Do we have any?
We've got 2.
Fantastic.
First one, if you want to send us an email, factorysealed@manatank.com or podcast@factory-sealed.com.
What?
Yeah. I don't know who's sending it to what. They both get filtered to the same box. But first one comes from Matty Hallmark. I believe he wrote in a while ago saying that he was just starting to listen to us and trying to get caught up. So this one.
Oh.
Well, I'm all caught up. Listened to your latest episode today and unfortunately found out you're taking a week break for your 100th episode. Will it include Home Improvement? We'll see. I wanted to respond to Dan about the Final Fantasy 15 demo. I didn't realize it was meant to just be a tech demo. I was really hoping to get a taste of the actual game. That being said, for a tech demo, it did very well. The visuals were excellent and the scenarios were well done. I want to run through it a second time, but quit because I didn't feel like playing through it again. Now, where can I get an actual demo of the game? Only on Final Fantasy 15 or Final Fantasy Type 0? I'd like to try it. I can answer that question, and yes, you can only get the actual 15 demo through Final Fantasy Type O or Type 0. But it's only $20. I've seen it in the store, brand new, $20.
It's just the same. It's just a real shame that it's complete bullshit, though, right?
Type 0?
Yeah.
Oh, Type 0 is fantastic.
Oh, I've watched some gameplay footage. It doesn't look like my kind of thing.
Tom.
You seem so disappointed.
Type 0 is fantastic. Okay, maybe fantastic is a strong word. It's good.
Okay.
Because it meshes kind of that exploration of Crisis Core with the mission system of Crisis Core, but the overworld of a traditional Final Fantasy game, and then throws RTS elements into it. It's for $20. It is a very good game.
Yes. Okay, it's £12 in the UK.
That's nothing for a great game. I paid $60.
Oh, you absolute mug.
No way. For me, I had to have the Final Fantasy 15 demo. Had to have it.
I can't believe you spent $60 to get a demo.
Well, I got a great game with it, too.
Yeah, but it's not a fantastic game.
It's a good game.
Fair enough. Do you know what?
Here's the thing. I thought
judgment.
The way that they were marketing it, I thought it was only going to be the initial runs of Type 0 that had the Disguise demo in it. That's why I bought it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Is it the same as Type 0 for the PSP?
It's the HD remake of it. But that was never released outside of Japan.
Yeah. I have played it, though, the Japanese version.
I like it, man. It's really good.
I can't remember. I remember the problem is with these games, with these Final Fantasy spin-offs, is I play them with the expectation they're going to be just like the standard games.
No.
And that's what happens. If you don't have a sort of open mind, you can be brutally disappointed. Like Final Fantasy Tactics, maybe if I play it now, I think it was good. But when I first bought that game for the PSP, and I was super excited for a traditional JRPG, that thing couldn't have been out the window any quicker.
Oh, you are a sinner. That game is in the pantheon of gaming history. I don't have the reason I will never revisit that game is because I don't have time.
Yeah, that's fair enough because apparently you can dump 100 hours into that thing
and never scratch the true surface of it.
Yeah, I get it, but
plus you need a PhD to understand the story.
That complicated, eh?
So Maddie actually has a question.
Yes.
He says, if each of you were on death row and they give you a choice of a last video game instead of last meal, what would you choose? That is a fantastic question, by the way.
So I have to move to America to be in this mindset.
Correct. Now, I think what's more important is we need to understand why we're on death row. What have you done, Tom, that's so heinous?
Slagged off Type 0 HD.
Ooh.
Discarded Tactics from ever being a good game. I don't know. I'm not a bad person. You'd have to do something really bad to be on death row, right? Is it only like murders of the first degree that end up being
or
on
treason,
death row?
high treason? I think that you're going to move to the States and you're going to sell government secrets back to the Queen.
Oh, yeah, that would be what I would get done for sure, is just not moving to America with the true commitment that they desired.
The Queen has recruited you to regain the colonies.
Yeah.
You, Thomas Reagan, are going to subvert the American government and get the United States of America to rejoin the English kingdom and recreate the kingdom on which the sun never sets.
I've decided for sure that the Queen should take you back until you can actually look after yourselves.
Oh, we're doing just fine.
Look, we think otherwise, so Queenie is she'll look after you. Don't worry.
She's 90 years old.
Exactly. You don't get to 90 without having a ton of wisdom and logic behind you.
And a bunch
Imagine
of
all the games she's played.
0.
She would have been she's played more consoles than we ever have. And games. Combined. All 4 of us.
I think that's wrong.
More games than Jess?
I think that's wrong. Oh, okay, that's right. So what game would you choose?
Oh, man. I think it has to be something with huge... hang on a minute. How long do I have to play it?
Well,
I'm on death row. How long will I be on death row
his
for?
question specifically states a last video game instead of a last meal. And a meal...
one evening.
Yeah, an evening or an hour or two. Because most meals would take... Like, they give you your meal. Like, all right, you're done. Let's go die.
Shit.
I mean, it has to be something quick.
But not... It doesn't have to be overly quick.
Well, maybe you could draw it out. Like, hey... You're giving me... So, let's think about this. If you give me a last meal, you're going to let me complete the meal. So, if you give me a last game, you're going to let me complete the game. So, therefore, I'm going to choose World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that's... The first thing I thought of was an MMO.
Because it will never end, and I won't die.
Yeah.
14 years later, guys, I'm still going.
Guys, I'm level 90 paladin. You got no chance.
Sir, you seem to be taking an extraordinarily long time to level up past level 1. I mean, I just want to make sure I see everything.
What would you be on death row for? That's what I want. That's what I want to know.
I don't know. What would I be on death row for, Tom?
Well, probably, pushing upon the world your incorrect terms for various food items. Just being generally irritating in that respect.
This guy's irritating with his grammar. Kill him.
Yeah. His refusal to accept that other people call other things different names. Just his ignorance. Stick him on death row.
Ignorance is a new federal crime.
Yeah. Or you're in some really brutal state that decides that it's state law that ignorance that is going to put you on death row. Can that happen? Because it's
Could you imagine how long
right?
the lines would be if people were actually executed for ignorance?
Yeah. Or you've just you're in way over your head in your selling business, and it's like selling ice to Eskimos. You're just running riot with this shit, and you're not paying any taxes because you hate taxes.
But I don't think that warrants death.
I think just everything combined and just the general, you build up a real thing in the community. Like the sheriff would hate you. Is that how it works over there? You got the sheriff.
Yep, we have the town sheriff. He walks around with a pistol on his hip, and he just he disperses justice at a whim.
Exactly. He's like, I don't like the Petersons. They're bad news around this.
Damn Petersons are coming to town. I gotta reload my gun.
And then they interview the neighbors and oh no, I have nothing to do with Mr. Peterson because he's roguelike.
He's roguelike. My game. Shit.
It's a hard one. It's so hard.
I mean, I've got choices. Like everybody's just got games that come to mind when they're like, "What are some of your favorite games?" And they're like, "This, and this."
Yeah,
but like
for sure.
The last game I'd want to play before I die.
Like, would you take Mega Man 2? Would that be the one?
That's really high on the list.
Yeah, like high on the list for me is certainly Metal Gear Solid 2. In fact, even Metal Gear Solid 1 is high, but it's not overly fun, and maybe you'd want to have something fun to play. Like, it's more story driven. For me, that's what I got out of Metal Gear, was the story. Yeah. And does that really matter so much? But then you want to pick something that maybe has some meaning that you leave behind, like something a bit poetic, perhaps. Does that make sense?
Oh.
You know, like, I may be dying, it's time to play something that really means something.
Tetris.
Or do you just want to play Smash Bros. And just, whatever.
See ya. I'm going to play a game of Q*bert.
Yeah. This is my mark on the world. Successfully highlighting blocks.
I would go with either Mega Man 2 or Final Fantasy 8.
Wow, Final Fantasy 8, you're going to have to really crunch that one in.
Yeah. I'll grind it.
But again, it depends how long. Yeah. Final Fantasy 8 is a very, very good choice. It's certainly high up on my list. Maybe Diablo 2 would be cool to play.
Oh, yeah.
If I had an internet connection, that would be it.
Servers are down, though.
The servers are always down in county jail. Well, I guess I would be in county jail.
You would not be in county. You would be in a federal penitentiary. Probably in Texas.
Is that different to a state penitentiary?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Just you'd be in a penitentiary somewhere.
Would I be wearing orange and have chains on my legs and stuff?
You'd probably be strapped upside down.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, that's no good. Maybe I thought you were going to choose Oblivion, if I'm honest.
Nah.
So that you could relive good times, like the good memories before you were in prison.
Or it could teach me how to break out of prison and set forth onto a new adventure of saving the world.
I just play that section of Metal Gear where you're locked up and you have to put the ketchup on the floor and get Johnny to come in and try and break you out.
Yeah.
He doesn't try and break you out, but he's very alarmed. No, I don't know. It's super difficult to choose a game to play last, but I kind of default to Metal Gear 2 because it's fucking brilliant.
Then Metal Gear 2 it is.
Yeah. Good question.
We've got another email from Brian titled The Asshole Kid. Sounds like a really bad Wild West villain. Billy the Kid and his sidekick, the Asshole Kid.
Yeah, or his arch enemy, the Asshole Kid.
Ah, yes. He says, "Hey, Factory Sealed crew, after introducing my nephew to the wonders of Donkey Kong Country, I realized that I could not recall how I acquired most of my Super Nintendo cartridges. For example, the Doom cartridge. My mom would not have bought it since it was ultra-violent, and my dad would not have bought it because we already had it for the PC. Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, Jurassic Park, etc. all seem to have appeared out of nowhere. And for some reason, I have 2 Donkey Kong cartridges. I can only assume that I was the asshole kid who never returned any games that I borrowed from my friends. Do you have any games you don't remember buying or borrowing that somehow ended up in your collection?"
Yes, the original PlayStation Grand Theft Auto.
I have...
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just remember it being on my shelf and thinking, why is that there? And I couldn't figure it out. Because my parents would not have bought me that game. It didn't even have the cover, like the front sleeve. It just had the CD and the manual, and it smelled of secondhand cigarette smoke.
Those old cartridges, too, and
yeah.
Pamphlets just stink.
I had no idea where it came from. I must have maybe borrowed it from a friend because I couldn't get it myself, and then he never wanted it back, and yeah. What about you?
I have... I have a bunch of Super Nintendo cartridges that just I acquired out of nowhere simply because they were left at my house, and I didn't know who left them, so I kept them.
Right. Crazy.
I have like 3 copies of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas because one of my friends gave it to me because I had a disc resurfacer.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And I just forgot to resurface it, and I kind of lost touch with him, so I kept that. Another one of my friends came over, and he was playing his Final Fantasy X game on PS2, left it in the trunk of my car, and I lost touch with him and found it. I mean, this is back when the trunk of my car was just full of shit. And I was cleaning it out one day and found them like, ooh, I haven't talked to him in months. I guess I'll go trade it in. But I had a friend who was very similar to Brian, who I can affectionately dub the asshole kid. I was in grade school, probably 4th or 5th grade, and I had an NES with a bunch of games. And he was going to his grandma's for a week, and she had an NES but only had like Tetris. Like, yeah, you can borrow a bunch of my games. I'm going to be out of town anyway. So I gave him all of my NES games to take with him. I got 3 of them back.
Ugh.
And that was like a year and a half later.
This brings me to an interesting topic on the notion of lending games in general. Like, I just knew that other people weren't going to look after my games as much as I did. Like, I was just one of those kids that I always looked after everything that was bought for me. I kind of really appreciated it.
Yeah.
And I remember lending a Game Boy game to a friend. We used to swap games because Game Boy was my main console when I was in primary school, like for ages between 5 and 9 or whatever. And I gave him the box with the inlay and the instruction and even like a little plastic case around the cartridge. Like, it was like really great condition. And when he gave the game back to me, it was just the cart and nothing else.
Oh, had he thrown all the other stuff away?
Like, it was just probably in his room somewhere. He never gave it back. And it was just like, oh man, that sucks. Or when people gave you PlayStation 1 games back and the case would be cracked.
I didn't mind that too much because it was easy to swap out a new jewel case.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but your cases were different. So we had special cases for PlayStation games in Europe. You couldn't buy them on like blank ones.
Ours were just straight up CD jewel cases.
Yeah, I always find that really funny. But so I just stopped lending after a while.
I have a copy. Speaking of Game Boy games, I have a copy of Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy that has my friend's last name still on the back of it.
What, in like marker pen?
Yeah, just in black Sharpie. I'm like, that's not mine. No, I don't. I generally don't lend games to people.
Yeah.
I lent Cool Borders 3 to a friend once in middle school. And when he gave it back to me, he's like, dude, I don't know how this happened, but the disc snapped in half. I'm like, what?
How? I don't understand these people who do this.
But he was a cool friend, and he replaced it for me. He gave me the disc, and he's like, we're going to go buy you a new copy tonight.
Yeah, like, good friends will do that, like, or just be like, hey, I'm really sorry, like, or just, accidents happen, it makes sense, but, like, this one guy at work, like, this was only a couple of years ago, he had the Legend of Zelda Hyrule green hardback book, you know the one?
Yeah, the Hyrule Historia.
And he lent it to a friend, and the guy spilt beer all over it.
Oh.
And he was like, dude, I'm so sorry, I spilt beer all over it, I'm going to buy you a sealed brand new one. And sure enough, he did.
That's awesome.
It's like, yeah, that's fair enough, But yeah, like, I had guys who come back and it looked like, oh yeah, sorry man, the dog got a hold of the CD and just started chewing through that bad boy. Here you go.
Sucks to be you. I'm not buying you another one.
Or it looks like they've rubbed the CD on the pavement outside. It's just like,
yeah,
there's tons of scratches, and I'm like, oh dude. But yeah, that's the only game that I saw in my collection that I thought, that doesn't belong here, was GTA. But I was more than happy to have it because I was never going to be allowed to buy that game.
Brian has a couple PSs here. He goes, P.S. I enjoy having emails earlier in the episode because your responses are fresher and more thought out than they would be after an hour-long podcast. Though if there are a lot of emails, I can see them taking away too much time from the main topic / game of the week. PPS, my goal of photobombing one of Dan's tourist photos have been unsuccessful since I'm too lazy to stalk him. But seriously, I hope he is enjoying our cross-sectioned penis bacon every morning he is here. Sincerely, Sitter Brian. I knew we wouldn't be able to go an episode without the sit-stand debate coming up.
Still 100% every episode.
I brought that up to a group of my friends last weekend. We were sitting around having some drinks, and I kind of laid out the background of it. And there were 5 of us there, and 4 out of 5 were sitters. One guy just physically couldn't believe that people sat, and everybody else physically could not believe that he stood. So we went through this whole demonstration of how it's done. Because we're sitting outside in chairs, and we're like, you just stand up? He goes, you guys just sit? I'm like, yeah, you do the one cheek lean, and like you really get in there. He's like, you guys are weird.
It's so funny because this is just a discussion clearly people haven't had in the past.
Well, I guess everybody just seems to think that their version of doing it is just how everybody else does it.
Yeah. I don't even know where you really learn it from. Parents, I guess?
See, when I broke my shoulder in January,
yeah,
I had to relearn and use my left hand. I'm like, this is so weird. So I guess it could be the same concept.
Yeah. It's so bizarre. Like it's like a huge. It hugely opens new doors in a relationship. That's for sure. If you find out one stands and one sits,
like you can't look at them the same again.
What?
Every time they go to the bathroom, like, you're doing that weird thing again.
Yeah. Oh my god, I live with a stander, or vice versa.
Gross.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah.
Thank you for the emails. If you want to send us one again, factorysealed@menatink.com or podcast@factory-sealed.com. Tom, we have some important stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we do. Go for it.
In 1 month's time, we are going to be hitting our 100th episode. Barring any sort of unforeseen circumstances, May the 22nd, 2016 will mark the 100th episode of Factory Sealed.
Big
Over
news.
half of those were done in the last year. So I guess
a little bit more regular.
For a podcast that's weekly, it took us a long time to reach 100. But the first 3 years of the podcast were kind of irregular. Anyway, that aside, we put out a poll a few weeks ago about what game we should cover for our 100th episode. And it has been decided that we are going to tackle the Ocarina of Time for our 100th show. Clap, 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 clap.
That's me clapping.
I know. I was hoping to have more fanfare, although there would have been some obnoxious groaning from Daniel. Like, I just played through that recently. What?
Yes.
Deal with it, Dan. We're going to play through it again.
Daniel.
However, there's even bigger news. Are you ready?
I'm braced.
We are putting together... Some of you may be familiar with the Loot Crate, where it's a subscription-based box that every month you just get a box of junk.
Hey, I get Loot Crates.
Do you really?
Good. Yeah.
Every month?
Yep.
How much do you pay for that?
£24.
Your apartment is the size of a shoebox. Where do you have room for all of that?
Dude, like, Europe is different, okay? Like, you kind of build up, not out. So you have shelving units, you have, like, there's just, we figure it out, okay? We figure it out.
Well, riding off of that idea, we are putting together, we haven't decided if it's going to be one or multiple, but we are putting together the Jeeves Box, which is going to be filled with only the finest memories of Factory Sealed.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm
we
excited
have some
about this
really
box.
cool stuff. We've reached out to all of the guests we've had on the show who, for those of you who've been listening for a long time, we've had Elias Defexis, Will O'Neill, Rob Duenas, Mark Polidorus, and I feel like I'm forgetting someone.
Solid Snake.
Well, he was on the Mana Tank podcast.
Yeah, he was. That must have been awesome.
The only one we have not reached out to is Toronto Batman. Each of these people, we already have the stuff from one of them, is hopefully going to contribute something personal to the Jeeves Box.
Exactly.
What it is, we'll tell you later, but there will hopefully be personal effects from each of the guests that we've had on the show, as well as things from each of us. So I'm okay with saying what I'm going to put in there. Since we are doing the Ocarina of Time, I've decided to design and make a stocking of Zelda. Not the character, but some sort of Zelda stocking, like all the ones that I make for you guys and me and my family.
Awesome.
Jess, I believe, is going to get crafty, either crochet or cross-stitch something. I don't know what the hell it's going to be. Probably a pile of routine. Dan's not doing anything. He will send you a bad internet connection.
And I am crafting a Zelda-inspired coaster, and I'm chucking in a physical copy of Poplar Cross for the PSP.
The one thing that I want to try to track down, I hope we can get it for not super expensive. I'd like to throw in an actual copy of Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
If we can find it.
If you can find it, great.
No.
I'm chucking in Poplar Cross because it's, a game that we played over 3 episodes long, and it marks, it helps mark those first 99 episodes, and it was awesome, so...
Unfortunately, the person who gets this probably won't have a PSP.
Probably.
But they may be able to track one down to play it.
Exactly.
We haven't really worked out the details on how you can enter to win this, but we want it to definitely be something that isn't going to just be won by a random person that has listened to one show. We want this to be something for people who have been longtime listeners and supporters of the show. Because you stuck with us for all this time, we want to reward you for that. But I will tell you that the people who support us on Patreon are going to have a better chance of winning this.
Yeah, like just by law of probability.
Correct.
Since they get extra entries based on what they're able to pledge.
So we do have, it's patreon.com/factory sealed. We have it set up where every $1 you pledge gets you that amount extra in entries. So
I mean, if you want, you can pledge X amount just for the sake of this competition, and then move your pledge lower, or just remove it altogether. It's up to you.
But the pledge would have to clear before we send anything.
Yeah,
because we don't want people pledging, winning, and then discontinuing their pledge.
Indeed. So
we've had some people who have been with us since we launched that. So needless to say, the specifics aside, that's something we're going to hash out later. But we're going to put together... one of our guests actually sent me 5 things. 5 of the same thing. Will O'Neill sent something really cool about actual sunlight. So we'll send those out. We'll probably have a bunch of prizes that we're going to give away. So we're going to iron all that stuff out. That'll be detailed in the coming weeks. But it's going to be... It's going to be a box that we're going to send, and it will not have region restrictions, so if you live on the moon, we'll send it to you. And it will have personal effects from each of us. Yeah,
exciting times. I'm excited to put it together.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah.
That's that. Thomas.
Eric,
have we thought at all about what we're going to play next week?
that's a good question. Unfortunately, I'm not here.
You're not?
I'm in Denmark.
The hell are you doing in Denmark next week?
I completely forgot. That sounds really bad, but I actually forgot that at Christmas, my girlfriend and I booked a holiday to Denmark for the weekend to see Copenhagen in all its glory, in all its Scandinavian glory, which is exciting. It's a pretty cool place, I hear. So, I'm there from Friday to Monday.
I think then that Jess and I are going to play the original Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, that's what I thought you guys...
Because you didn't spend any money to track that down, did you?
No, I tried. Like, I was still going to buy it regardless, but I couldn't find it for, like, acceptable price.
Well, if Jess manages to make it to a show...
Although, I did just buy the PS4 version.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, today.
Way to go.
Yeah. So, I've never played one of those games, just so you know. So, hopefully I'm in for a treat.
You're gonna enjoy it quite immensely.
Sweet. Have you played that yet?
Huh?
Have you played the new one yet?
Bits and pieces.
Okay. Fair enough. So hopefully if Jess is around, then you guys will be playing that. Otherwise, maybe you'll play something else. Just talk on your own.
Yes, we'll try. Let's see.
All right.
Anything else, Tom?
No, I got nothing else to add. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
That's going to do it for the week. Tom, where can we find you on Twitter?
That's easy. It's at Hyperjelly.
Oh, that is easy. You can find me at Honest Pizza. If you want to follow the show, that's at factory_sealed. Check us out, factory-sealed.com. That's going to do it for this week.
Sweet.
Tom,
thanks, everybody.
Enjoy Denmark. We will see you in 2 weeks. The rest of you, hopefully, Jess and I will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.